Welcome to Sapphire 1. This is the introduction into the Sapphire 1 client inquiry. The Sapphire 1 client inquiry can be accessed from the accounts mode within the Sapphire 1 application. We have 8 distinctive modes. We can also access the client inquiry from inventory and also projects. When we're accessing it in the accounts mode, we would access it from the receivables menu and go to client inquiry, and it drops us into the client inquiry. We can also access that from the inventory mode. We go into sales, we go down to client inquiry, and it accesses exactly the same table. Alternatively, we can come down to our job projects mode, and we can go down to job projects, and we can access our client inquiry from job projects mode. We've got the ability to, once we go into the client inquiry, so here we go into a standard client inquiry, we can sort any of these fields by whatever column we want. We can just simply click on that and it will sort it by whatever we wish. We've also got the ability to double click here and we can go in and look at the particular client. We've got, once we go into a client inquiry, we've got a modify icon up on the toolbar. We've also got a look icon, so we can use the icon. Alternatively, we can use a keyboard command. In this case, I'll go Control M, which is the modify key if I wanted to. And it'll drop me into a client inquiry. Once I'm in a client inquiry, up in the top left-hand corner, I'm presented with a number of pages, and those pages are details, more details, custom, the current balances, FX balances, credit control terms, transactions history, sales analysis, sales, keywords and notes, multi-address, price book, period balances, standing sales, job projects, email log, ratings, actions, documents and pictures. What we'll do today is we'll go through each one of these pages and we'll give a quick explanation of what we retain on each page. Up in the top left-hand corner here, we've got the client ID. Sapphire 1's IDs are always alphanumeric. In this case, we've chosen to use an alpha ID. For the Architects Resource Group, we have an area, and once again the areas are alphanumeric and we can set the area. We have a risk rating, so we can go and allocate a risk rating to a particular client, and we can also go and put the client in a particular class. And in this case, if I go in here and I use my @ symbol, I can go and select a different class if I so desired. And if we just do that again, I'll bring up a list of client classes. I've got a company ID. Sapphire 1's company ID is a 10 alphanumeric, and I can add as many company IDs as I like within the Sapphire 1 application. We've got a department ID. Once again, it's searchable, and I can go and add a department ID to the particular client. I've got a rep ID, so I can assign a particular rep to a customer, and I've also got project ID, and in this case I can go select a particular customer. We can always also use the question mark, so if I use a question mark I can go and select a particular project code there. Alternatively, if I delete that and I go tab, I can just cancel that and it won't put a project code in. I can mark the client as a reseller if I wish, and I can mark the client to be open item and balance brought forward, or mark the client to be active or inactive. You've got a grouping here, so the grouping allows us to drop the client into a particular demographic if I wish. And I've got here, I've dropped them into building, architect, and here I've just got it. So I can rename each one of these and set it to however I like. We'll go in here, we've got the standard, so I've got standard, statement, invoice. So if I go down to statement, I can go and set a different address for statement and a different address for invoicing and also delivery address. We go back to my standard address details. We've got the physical and postal address, so physical here and postal address here. If I click on the physical, it will allow me to go and look at the physical address contained within Google Maps. So here I've gone and dropped into it here, and I can see that particular address, which is 24 Hall Street, Bondi Beach. And I've also got the get location date and the link delivery instructions here as well. Within the Sapphire 1 application, we have a CRM built into all tables, and the CRM, in this case, I'll zoom that out to full screen. I can go and look at and set up as many contacts as I like within a client. I can then drill down on that particular client contact if I wish. So I can drill down here and I can go into the various pages. So I've got Ken Smith, I've got a position. Once again, I've got the postal and physical address and the contact details. If I click on that icon there, the green phone icon, if I'm connected to our SpliceCom soft phone, I can actually make a phone call automatically from here. Once I click on that, it'll turn the icon from green to red, and it'll actually go and make a soft phone call out through our standard trunk line or PSDN line or ISDN or SIP trunk or Tibbet connection, whatever type of phone line you're running. And then the same with mobile home numbers and any other. The URL and email are also linked fields, so if we click on those, it'll physically bring up an email. And then we've got marketing information here. So if I've integrated MailChimp with Sapphire, and we have a separate blog on that, if you go to the Sapphire One blog, you'll see the MailChimp blog. Every time we send out a MailChimp campaign, that'll link that back to Ken Smith, and we can keep a log file of when it was sent and when it was opened. We can come in here to notes, and we can keep as many notes as we like on the particular contact. We can go and type a note here for that particular contact, and it'll store that in here. I've got the ability with the notes here to come in here, and I can go and highlight those. And here I can come in and go, okay, I'd like to change the font size, so I just want that to stand out. And also want to change the color. So in this case, I'll change that to red. And then by saving that, going back out here, I can save that into the client contact. And we can come back out here. So once we've looked at all the contacts and we've had a good look at Ken Smith as a contact, we can come back here to our main page and we can go back into the first page. Then coming up to the page drop down top left hand corner, they're all F key driven, so we can use the F key if we wish. So for example, if I go F3 now, it'll take me to the third page, F4, F5, F1, F2. So I'm just going to F key drive those. They're all documented in our keyboard shortcuts on our blog website. So if you go to sapphire1.com and look at our blog, there's keyboard shortcuts up there. Now we go to more details. Here we can keep a note of the last receipt for that particular customer, the last transaction. We've got that tax details, so tax file number or ABN number if you're in Australia. You've got a GL default for that particular customer if you wish to set up a general ledger default. You've got 4 user-defined fields here, and here I've renamed them. This field can be changed to suit yours. And then I've got a prefix, so I can have a serial shipping container code for that particular customer. And I've got additions and deductions that's specifically around levies for customers. Then I can set period invoices if I want, so periodic invoicing based on daily, weekly, fortnightly, monthly, or none. So in this case, I won't choose anything. And then I can have email or print, or both email and print. So I can set that. I can set a general message for that particular customer. I then come down to the custom screen. The custom screen is the ability to go and set custom fields like we had area and class, and we can go and set, we've got 8 alpha fields here. Each one of these can be renamed. So here I've gone and renamed this one from CL Alpha 120. I've renamed it client side. As a user, you have the ability to go and rename those. And here I've got special instructions, so I've renamed that as well. I've got 8 alpha fields. I've got 8 numeric fields. I've got 8 date fields, and I've got 2 text fields. Come down to my next page, I've got my current balances, so I can go and look at the current balances for that particular customer, and I can go and look at that in a graphical sense if I want. I've also got FX balances, so if that particular debtor, we invoice them in euros, for example, or US dollars or Kenji, we can go and view that particular customer at their particular FX rate. I've got the ability to go and make notes on the FX balances, and I've also got what we call the credit control screen, which is effectively a similar screen, and we can go and look at that, and we can look at the contacts and make notes. If I'd like to go and look at a particular transaction, I can go in here and I can open that in inquiry, and it'll actually go and open that in the inquiry screen. Then I can drill down and look at that original source document if I wish. I've got the ability here to go to the next page. Also in the client, we can open invoice, we can print invoice, we can look, we can retrieve link, we can load, we can reload the screen, we can print a statement from here or email a statement from here. Allocations, we can go and find a particular transaction, open inquiry, and we can process a payment. So if we were calling the debtor and we're asking for payment, we could go and process the payment directly from the credit control screen. If we come to our next page here in the pages drop down, once again these are all F key driven. We can go to our terms page, so we can go and set the terms of payment terms for that particular debtor, a series of payment terms there in the drop down. We can set a particular day of the week that the payment terms are set, and then we can put auto credit stop after a certain number of days if we wish. We can set a prompt payment discount for that particular customer. We can keep their bank details, so when they're paying us by EFT, we can store that within this Sapphire One application. We've also got a default there, so we can say the default is credit card. So whenever you enter a client receipt, it will automatically default to a credit card. We can store the credit card details. We've got the internal location information, the variance account, and any margins on costs we can allocate. We've got the credit control window, so we can set a credit control for that particular debtor, so we can set their credit control limit, and then we can put them on credit stop if we require. We've got the EDI settings, so if you're interacting with your customer via EDI and we partner with SBS Commerce, you'll be able to send all that information via EDI. And then we've got our credit control log screen here, so we can go and look at what's been logged in the credit control window. The next page down is a transaction, so we can go and look at all the current transactions. Once again, we've got that drill down ability, and we can drill back down to the original source document. We've got the ability to go and look at all the history. So here we can go in and look at the history, and once again we can get drilled down to the original source document. Sapphire One keeps unlimited history, so we can go back and look at all the historical records, and in this case I've gone all the way back to 2001, and I can go and look at an original source document, double click, and if there's an original purchase order attached with that, I could click on the paperclip and go back to the original source document. And we've also got the ability here to go to sales analysis. So if, for example, I wanted to go and look at what that customer's been purchasing off us for the last year, in this case I've purchased that particular product being AACUT cutlery sets, 7,010. We've currently got 202 in stock. Their last order was 10, and they last ordered that in October. So all that is within our sales analysis. We can come down here to our sales screen, and then we can also include complete history. Once again, that takes us back to day dot, so we can always go back and look at every transaction the client's ever transacted with us. Keywords and notes, same functionality as we saw earlier, so we can go in and highlight a particular note. We can once again change the font size if we wish, and we can also colorize that as well, or change the style, or do whatever we may want to do. So there's a particular keyword or note on that client that you want to keep some notes of, you need to bold it or do whatever, you've got that ability. Multi-address, we can have unlimited number of multiple addresses for a particular client. And here we've got the contact again, we've got all the marketing information, so if we're doing MailChimp campaigns to them, and we've got all that linked, and we can keep the keywords and notes again. We've got an action screen, and we've got a custom screen, which we'll cover a bit later on. If we green tick here, that's multi-address. We come down here now to price book. If the customer's on a particular price book based on inventory, we'll have a log of that within the price book entry within the client. We come down to period balances. We can go and look at all the period balances for that particular client. We can come down to standing sales. So any standing sales that we've got set up for this customer will be sitting here in standing sales. Job projects are all the jobs that client has done with us. We'll link back to the job projects and keep a file note of that. And then we've got an email log. So any emails that have been sent to the client, we're going to keep that. We've got a ratings page here. So, for example, if you're using some sort of ratings application to a Survey Monkey, for example, and we send out a Survey Monkey to our customers, we want to keep a record of that. We can store that within the client as well. And then we come down here to actions. We can go and look at the actions for that particular client. We can go and create an action, and we're going to create that as a test. We come in here and give it a type, and we'll say we need to give that client a call, and the action is a follow-up. So we'll just type that in here, and as soon as I tab that, it'll ask me to add that to the list, and I'll add it to the list. I might want to set that for next week on Tuesday, and I want to give that client a call at 10 a.m. So we go in here, and just do that again, 10 a.m. And then we'll set that down to 10 a.m. as well. I might want to do a conference call on that and keep some notes. So keep some notes here. I want to add a work colleague to that particular call. So for example, I might go in here and add our friend AK. So come in here, type AK's ID, go and search AK in our database and say, yes, I'd like to add AK. And then I want to send AK an invite. So I'll send AK an invite. AK's been sent an invite that we would like AK to attend that conference call with that particular client. AK can then accept or reject that, and we'll have a notification within our actions. We've also got documentation. So any documents that you add to the client can be added here in the documents. Alternatively, I can come back here and I can go onto my first page of the client, click on the paperclip, and that'll take me straight to my documents page. Now, if I want to go and review that particular document I've got attached, I simply can go and review that particular document. In this case, it's a tech note that we've attached to the particular client. And as soon as we add a document, the paperclip will turn from red to green, which will denote, in this case, there's 3 documents attached to this particular client. And then the final page is pictures. So we can add unlimited pictures to the contact. So here's a picture of their particular building and maybe a street map picture as well, or it could be any picture that we want to attach. And if we then come back out here, if I want to go and show a subset of customers, I simply can go Control-G and that'll show a subset. So in our options here, if we go Control-E, that'll show us all the records. We're presented with a series of options here. So our first option is find. We can do a simple find, do an easy query, a detailed query, advanced find, show subset, show last set, omit subset, save set, load set, tools, task, hide toolbar, detailed sort, actions, access lock, and a global search. So for example, if I wanted to just go in here to my options and I want to show subset, so simply go show subset. Once again, if I want to go show all, I can just use my Control-E and I can go and show all. All the keyboard commands are there for you. So Control-F is just simple find, and you show all is your Control-E. So very easy. If I wanted to go and select a group of records, and we hold the command key down here and just select one or two other records, Control-G, I can go and show a subset. Now, one of the beauties with all inquiries within the Sapphire One application is the ability to be able to customize your view as a user. So if I go in here, and what I'd like to do is rather than have their address here, I'd like to go to my setup and I'll go and select address. And what I want to do is I want to come down to the field within the table and I'd like to select total due. And I'll select that OK. And we'll go in here and now I've got the total due. And but I want to see all my customers, so I'll go Control-E, and then I've got my total due for all the customers. Now I can sort that by whichever way I want. I can then go and say I want to show a subset of that. So I go Control G, and then I can come down here and I can select the total due here in my drop down. So we'll just go to total due. We need to just pause here, channel, while I'm just finding the total due. So here I go and select total due, and then I could go and get a quick sum, if you will, of the total due. So there's my total due there that will display on my custom inquiry screen. Now, as a user, I could elect to then move the ID over here and just have the name here, and I can move this, and I could go and move that. So I can go and change that and customize it to my particular view. Now, if I close out of that now, and I come back into a client inquiry, it's going to go and remember exactly how I last left it. And each time I go back into, if it's in an hour or 2 days' time, I go back into a client inquiry, it'll remember that particular view. Now, as part of the setup is we've got the ability to go and save multiple sets. So if I wanted to save that as a total due, for example, and we'll just call that total due, and then I go and save that, I can save that as a particular set. And then I can simply close out of here and say if I click OK and we close out, and we go back into a client inquiry, I go back to my standard view, there's my standard view, I swap to my custom view, and it's going to swap to that. Now I may have several views, and in the drop down and the setup, I can select whatever view I like. So by selecting that, and I can go here, and I may have several different views set up, and I can go and select those and have various views that set up within the Sapphire One application. We've also got the ability then, once we go and select a show subset again, so we go and select that, and we've just got a subset of those records. I've now got the ability to export to Excel. So if I drop that out to Excel, I can drop those debtors straight out to Excel, which I've just done. And here I've just dropped out my total due here. So I could go in here, for example, and I could go and sum that. So I could say here and sum that. I've got a sum. So it's exactly the same as we saw before. So if we close that, exactly the same as saw before by doing the sum here on the Sapphire One inquiry screen, total due. Whoops, not tax rate. Go back, total due, and then it gives us a sum there. The ability to customize each view becomes a really nice feature for the user, because every single user, by your username and password, then that will allow you to set up your custom view, and you can have as many custom views as you like. So this obviously just doesn't apply to the client inquiry. It applies to any view of any data that you've got within a standard transaction inquiry. Thank you for taking the time to watch the introduction to the Sapphire One client inquiry.